Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Sorry, I'm distracted. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. This is the channel where I talk about the artwork on Pokemon cards. It's an artist's video today. I'm going to start it off with a bit of a weird one. We're talking about the artist Saboteri today, who has illustrated a number of cards in the last year and a half for Pokemon. And I wanted to look at their art, but I can't show you every card. I'm missing one card, and it's their most well-known card. It's also their most, well, is it their most expensive? It's possibly their most expensive card. The reason I haven't got it is because I don't particularly like it, or I don't like it enough that I want to pay the money that it would cost me to finish my Saboteri collection. The Squirtle card from... what was it in? It was in English. It was in Stellar Crown, but it was in the Venusaur, Bulbasaur, Charizard. Venusaur, not Bulbasaur. What am I doing? It's Venusaur, Blastoise, Charizard. Special deck in Japan. If I were to get it, I would buy it in Japanese. I just can't be inspired to do that. But that's not to say it's not a bad card. It's just not my thing. But everyone knows that it's a Squirtle in the swimming pool, in the paddling pool with the Pidgeys. Anyway, forget that. We're not talking about that one card, but I will show you all the other cards that Saboteri has done, and I'll be talking about their art style and why I appreciate it. They're not in my favourite of artists, but they have a very interesting art style. Actually, I'm going to come in further on this. This is too far out. So we'll have a look at this. Right, so we'll start off with these two promos. Oh, I have an English one here as well, but we're really only looking at Japanese prints here. So Saboteri has a cartoony style of pen work, line work. It's usually heavily detailed, especially the backgrounds. The colour palette, as you will see as we move through these cards, is very somber, somewhat, or it's toned down. There's often a sort of smoggy, dusky tone to their cards. The lighting is never very bright and strong, though these are slightly against that because they are quite bright daylight cards. Their infill colour is very flat, with the delineation of shadow very strong. So that is the general style of their work. So if you compare it to, hang on, let me just grab a card from Uninori here. If you look at Uninori, who is also a cartoony style, do you see how the green here has gradients through it? Whereas you won't get that so often in Saboteri. You won't get it. It's usually a flat infill of colour. So these are the Wooper and the Quagsire, which were gym promos in Japan, released in January of 2024. They're both quite nice, yeah, cartoonish, a little bit quirky. But you see how Saboteri here has outlined the water very aggressively with black lines to make it stand out from the very busy background. There's a little bit of a wobbly nature to the way they draw their lines in this instance, but probably in a lot of instances. We'll have a look as we go through. So those are the first two. The next one I will show you is the Relor. Which one is the... It was reprinted. So this is the original Relor here from Cyber Judge, and the other card that came in Cyber Judge was the Excadrill Art Rare. Nighttime Sky. How have they painted the sky? I don't know if they just used a sort of spatter paint or whether it's an adapted photograph of no. Don't know. It's probably just spatter paint, but that's quite a lot of detail in that night sky. But other than that, I mean, it's not a Pokemon I like particularly. It's a nice enough card. A bit of a bubblegum pink here, but on the whole, quite a dark card. This is a classic piece of Saboteri artwork. So much detail. I'm going to show you the card. have a look at the card, and then I'm going to take it away from you, and then I'm going to ask you a question. So look at the card. Right. How many Excadrill are in the card? Okay. So there is the main Excadrill here that the miner is feeding a bit of food to, I think. But we've also got one down here sleeping on this one's belly. We've got this one here. And then we've also got one coming through the ceiling up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there a fifth Excadrill in there? There might be. Anyway, very cartoon style. As I say, quite somber tones to the whole thing. It's all just slightly muted. There's nothing, even this orange is not bright orange, and the hats are a very dusky red. They're not a bright red. But it's an awful lot of work goes into that card. Great detail. With the digger in the background here, the mining thing. Lovely card, very complicated. Very typical Saboteri artwork. I like this one a lot. And those ones, that was the Rella and the Excadrill were both in Cyber Judge Temporal Forces. So that's that. The next ones to look at are the pair of from Crimson Haze, or can't remember which set it was in English, but anyway, Crimson Haze in Japan, the Poltergeist and the Sinistra. So these will tell a story about the little boy with his little poltergeist was dropping some green poison on his hand or something. It ends up on the he's looking at a photo album. There's his handprint later in life, I guess, and it's now evolved into a Sinistra. These are very muted tones, very smoggy, I think. There's also a sort of freckling of dust, as if they're in a attic full of dust drifting in the air here. So much detail in this, telling a little story. I mean, look how he's done the treads on the shoes here, and this little box with inks and knickknacks in, some items stored away on the shelves there. Beautiful, beautiful cards, very interesting, very odd. This, as an SAR, this is such a somber, subdued card. Let's have a look at it. I play this deck. It's a very good deck in the TCG. I do enjoy playing it a lot. So yeah, this is clearly an adult looking at the photo album of old photos. We've got some pictures here stacked. It gives the feel of an attic here, even though it might not be. Looks like typical Japanese traditionalist architecture in the background. Reminds me of the scene in the bit in My Neighbor Totoro where the two little girls go up in the attic and find all the little soot things. But lovely card. So put that back in there. The next card is the Diplin, which came out in Mask of Change and Twilight Masquerade. Again, very muted, dirty colours. Almost faded, antique tones in this. The outline has a little bit of wobble to it, and it's chosen to break it here with a little dot rather than a complete outline, to give the impression of where the light is catching on the sticky toffiness of the of Diplin's coat there. Yep, nice card. I like that a lot. And that was reprinted again in Terrestrial Festival. Actually, this might even be the Terrestrial Festival print. I may have pulled the wrong one out of the file. Anyway, never mind. That is the card. So Sorry, I've just realised I haven't put this back in its sleeve. Put that back in there. The next couple were from Stellar Miracle, which is the Perugly and the Terapagos. Very, very different cards. The Perugly Pokemon I do not like at all. There's a lot of cat Pokemon, and this is not one I like. I don't particularly like this illustration. I mean, I'm not sure what you can really do with Perugly, but these little violas here are quite sweet, giving a little touch of colours. Fat cat rolling in the flowers. It's okay. It's not a particularly strong card. I'd forgotten that Perugly has a tail like Lamiao. It's not a Pokemon I know particularly well. But then we have this one, which is just a stunning piece of work. Very complicated, very interesting card. So much detailing going on. You do have these pastel-y colours that lift it a little bit out of the normal sombre tones, but it's still very dense and dark, hugely detailed. A lot of work went into creating that. It has an Art Nouveau feel to it in its the intricacy of the detailing. My relationship with this Pokemon, Terapagos, is odd because I've never encountered it. Because I didn't play the second part of the DLC, it's one of few Pokemon that I have never actually had I've never encountered in the game, along with what else? The Hydrapple or whatever it's called. Whatever. Yeah, there's a couple of Pokemon they added in the thing. Raging Bolt. Yeah, Raging Bolt. I've never encountered that, or Gouging Fire. I should play them at some point, but I couldn't. My eyes couldn't cope with the glitchy nature of the graphics. The Switch was really struggling to give me smooth graphics, and it was making me feel physically sick to play the game. So that may just be a problem that I have, not a widely experienced issue, but there you go. So I don't have any sort of personal relationship with Terapagos, as I've never encountered it. But I do know what it does and understand that this is its last evolution of 3. Oh, I don't know. This is its Terra form. Clearly, it's a Terra card. The next cards, what are we looking at? Quaxley came out in Paradise Dragona. Again, I don't like Quaxley at all. It's my least favourite of the 3 starters. Stupid pompadour hairdo. The colours here again have that sort of smoggy feeling to them, that they're faded somehow, antiquated. A lot of detail here in the grass and the cliffs. It's not a card I particularly like, though. As I say, the infill colour is very flat. Very sharp delineation of shadowing across the body here and under Quaxley. Just seems a little bit flat to me. The Oranguru and the Phanpy both came out in Super Electric Breaker. I don't particularly like this Oranguru. The low camera angle is interesting, but again, very dirty, muted colouring going on. Almost feels like the card is discoloured. It's not bright and clean looking, but it's okay. The problem with Oranguru, of course, in my eyes, Arita's Oranguru, the original one from Sun and Moon Base, is just so amazingly good, both the regular art and the alternate art, that every other Oranguru just falls miles short of that. Yeah, okay. The Phanpy, again, very muted, drab coloration in this. As a sunset, I guess, on the savannah, with a very happy little Phanpy. It's like this, is like something out of is it the Jungle Book? One of the Disney films where you've got the elephants. Yeah, nice detailing though in the grasses, and you've got these two Don fans. There's a rear of one, start of the other one, but just very much subdued background figures that almost disappear into the background, and the fan being brighter and more colourful is lifted forward to catch the eye. It's a nice enough cut. The next one we had was the Fungus, which came out in the starter deck generation starter decks. I don't think it's been out in English. I have a feeling it's not out yet in English. Again, really somber colorations, especially, this background is just really, really faded pinky reds and off cream colours. But that's Saboteri's style, and that's fine. It's nice to have a style. It's quite a successful card. I think that's actually quite a well drawn little illustration. Yeah, give that a good mark. And that brings us up to the last few. So in the latest set, we've had a couple. We've got Ensklink and Hops Cramorant from Battle Partners. This is very nice. A little bit of light shafting down through the trees here. It's a very difficult Pokemon. I always say this with Klinklangs and stuff, that these inanimate object Pokemon are very hard to put personality into. And therefore, it's a real struggle for artists to actually make these cards memorable. I think it was Mininakai did one recently that was quite good, or was it? No, it's not Mininakai. I don't know. It's never a Pokemon I'm going to collect because I think it's so lovely. I don't think any. They always say every Pokemon is somebody's favorite Pokemon. If somebody's favorite Pokemon is Klinklang, they're probably a serial killer, aren't they? You can't really say Klinklang is my favorite Pokemon above all other Pokemon. You'd have to be a very strange human being. But yeah, it's a successful enough card. This is much nicer. This is one of the strongest cards in Battle Partners, which I think is a very lackluster set, as you will have noticed if you saw my last video. Again, the colours are really, really drab. You look at that colour of the hillside in the background, the choice of what tone of green he's used here, or greens and yellows, and the colours of the roofs here. This is quite a bright blue. Yeah, I mean, I think the artists are forced to stick to a designated colour palette for Pokemon that are the official colours of the Pokemon. But even so, there's almost like it's been pulled. Maybe it's just the background's influence on Cramorant here, or Ooh, as it's known in Japanese. Maybe that just drabifies it in effect by having such a muted colour palette in the background. It just takes the whole tone of the card down. Because I suppose if you look at Cramorant in isolation, it's actually quite bright colours. It's green eyes, it's yellow beak. Yeah, but the feel of the card overall to me is that it's very drab colour palette. And as I said with Saboteri here, infilling with very flat infills of colour without gradients, which is, cartoon style. And the final card I will show you is one that's never been in Japanese or English. This is the Chinese. I haven't got the reverse foil because I don't like their reverse foils. But this is the holo of the Snorlax. And it doesn't quite feel, other than it being a Chinese card, it doesn't quite feel true to Saboteri's style. And I think it's because the lines feel a little thin compared to their normal line work. I don't know, maybe it's an illusion because Snorlax is so big and bulky, but it just feels like thinner pen work here. It's a little bit boring. And Snorlax looks a little bit flat. I think, it just feels... I'd have liked its head shape to be a little bit plumper, perhaps, and maybe, well, whatever. But it's an okay card. This is from the 151 set in China, which couldn't use the 151 artwork because of Niantic or something. So they had to have alternate artworks for a lot of the cards for the Chinese release. And Saboteri did this Snorlax. It's the old block one, isn't it? That it's not a deck I like. But there you go. So those are the ones, and that's all Saboteri's work minus the art rare of Squirtle, which I can't show you because I don't have it. An interesting artist. I'm glad that they're in the TCG. I think they bring something unique to it. As to what cards I like best, I'm very much a fan of this one. I think that's brilliant. I love the intricacy and the nouveau feel of this one. And that's a very nice card. I like the storytelling and detail of the Excadrill. And these are very interesting. But they're too somber for me. No, I think I will... I think these three are probably my favourite Saboteri art so far. And if I had to pick one, I think it would be this. I think this is very nice. I think the shape of Cramorant here, just the balance of it all is nice. Simple card. It's a common, I guess. No, it's an uncommon. It's just, you can get pleasure out of seeing a really nice card that's worth 5 pence or 5 cents or whatever. Really very nice. So that's today's video. I hope that was of interest to someone. If it wasn't, it's the best I can do.